Hello and welcome to another episode of Finding Mr. Hyde, the podcast. I'm your host, Ally Jackson, and I'm bringing you my positive and practical approach to dating, relationships, and a whole lot else about life, brought to you by my lived experience. Speaking of lived experience, I am pumped to bring you this week's guest interview. Her name is also Ally Iseman. She is a relationship coach and educator. She specializes in modern relationship design, building relationships around who you actually are, what your actual values are, your goals are, building a relationship that's going to serve who you are now and not maybe who you used to be or expectations that you inherited. And something she talks about a lot is the concept, the emotion of jealousy and the way that jealousy shows up in our relationships, in our lives, in our body, and the stories that we tell ourselves about it based on what society tells us about it, and how instead we can really view it, if we work at it, as information, as data. She refers to herself as a data nerd in our interview, which you must know really touches my heart. And I just love the way she talks about emotions as just that, as information, as signals, as opportunities to look at something within ourselves or within our relationships. And her core argument is that jealousy is neither inherently destructive, nor is it something to oppress, to suppress. It's information. And so understanding it rather than fearing it can become a tool that is so useful in relationships and intimacy and connection in general. So I loved talking with her, and I'm excited for you to hear that interview. I have had the most wonderful week this week. I was out on Montauk playing in probably the coolest event that I have ever played in, and I would say will ever play in, though I'm hoping to be invited back next year. It was a pro-am volleyball tournament, so professional amateur volleyball tournament. Pro-am tournaments, if you haven't heard of them before, they have them in a lot of other sports. Golf is one that comes to mind pretty quickly. They're tournaments where the teams are comprised of professional athletes and amateur athletes, and they're on the same team. And so I was competing with literal Olympians. Like, I was on a team with professional beach volleyball players that some of whom I've idolized since I was a kid. Like, if the name Phil Dahlhauser means anything to you, he won gold in Beijing. He's just a legend. And it was so cool, first of all, to even be invited to this event. They really tapped into the New York City volleyball community. I got invited through the sand volleyball facility that I play at. It was firstly super cool to even go to this event, but then to also play with them. It was so wonderful, so cool. I was pinching myself the entire time. I just had the best time. And then Skyline and I had our first frolic day, which if you were following along on my Instagram stories that day, we're going to do it again in the future. So stay tuned if you want to be there in real time. But we picked a neighborhood out of a jar, and then from there decided what we were going to do for the rest of our day based on what people in my Instagram stories wanted us to do. And it was just really, really fun. Both of those things just continue to remind me how much I love the life that I've built in New York and how varied it is that I can, be playing volleyball and then be, frolicking around in the city and walking to all of these different things or taking the subway. And especially in a time when I've connected a lot recently with friends of mine who've left the city. I mean, actually in this upcoming week, I have friends coming into town. One of my very, very best friends in the whole world who doesn't live in New York anymore and who is coming into town, and we're hosting a whole bunch of people at our place and seeing a lot of people that have left New York. And I've been connecting with a lot of people recently that I either was closer friends with when they lived here, or, we're so close but they don't live here anymore. Maybe they're moving away. And my place in New York, I think, has never been more present in my mind as more recently. And I've just been confronted with a lot of people in my community's decisions to leave, or, people maybe that are just kind of thinking about whether this is where they want to be long term, even if it's where they are now. I have friends talking about that. And for me, New York is just magic. That's not to say that I will be here forever for sure, but it's just been really wonderful. And over on the Patreon, I've been talking a lot about my new therapy journey. I have a new therapist as of 4 or 5 weeks ago. And we've been talking a lot about things that I've been struggling with recently, with potential perimenopause and my anxiety and potentially ADHD and things that I've really been working on there. And something we've been talking a lot about is community and how important community is to me. And a lot of our work comes back to the strength that I get from my community, but also thinking about the things that I do on my own and really strengthening that as well. it's been really interesting. Like she has a little bit of a different approach than other therapists I've worked with, not necessarily in like modality. Like right now it's just, I'm putting that in quotes, talk therapy, but maybe it's just her vibe, like the questions that she's asking me, the way that she's kind of pushing me or suggesting that I think about things, the commonalities of threads that she's able to pick up on through different stories that I've told her. And again, I've only known her for like a little over a month. It's just been really cool. And it took me a while to decide on this particular therapist and this particular practice. And I chose her because she really focuses on a lot of the issues that I've been confronting recently. Recently, it was a combination of lately and recently, if you were curious. She really focuses, and her practice really focuses on women in my stage of life and further, and kind of the changes that women go through. And so she's got a lot of resources, been connecting me with a gynecologist who also focuses on these areas, and potentially neuropsych, and just a really sort of all-encompassing view, and my primary care physician, like an all-encompassing view of me and what's going on with me. And she's really listening to that. And that should be so table stakes, but it's often not, especially with women's health, that the things that I'm experiencing, that someone is like, yeah, that we don't want that. Like, we don't want you to feel that way. And we're going to figure out why you're feeling that way. It's honestly, it's like you've been holding your breath. And I'd found that with my primary care physician, but I had not found that in the therapy container. And it's the reason I wanted to switch. I really did love my previous therapist, but I think it just wasn't the right focus for her. So yeah, this is just, it's been really great. And I've been feeling really good as a result, even in the small amounts of sessions that we've had and the small amounts of progress that we've made. It's like part of the thing and part of the weight on my chest was the not doing anything about it part. Like where I'm talking about how I don't feel great about the micro aspects of my life. I don't feel great about my everyday. And both in this way and in other ways regarding like my productivity and at work and stuff, I feel like I'm really working towards rectifying that. And that feels really good. And actually my therapist mentioned that yesterday in recognition of that. And it just feels really good. Got a gold star in therapy. No, I'm kidding. It just really, it's amazing how much relief can come from the starting of something. And as a person who struggles with task initiation, that is something that I need to remind myself of, that like the starting feels so hard, but the continuing is not that hard. The continuing feels great. Starting feels terrible in my brain. Continuing feels great. Continuing feels easy. And so I want to continue to remind myself of that. And if you are out there and you potentially struggle with the starting, task initiation being the more formalized phrase, but if you struggle with starting things, it's been helpful for me to continue to come back to the things that I have started and how easy it is to continue them. Not everything is easy to continue, but a lot of things that were really hard for me to start are in fact quite easy for me to continue. And that has been something heartening for me to realize, and to maybe not realize, but like remind myself of. And therapy is one of those things, or like switching therapy focuses has been one of those things, something that seemed extremely overwhelming, extremely hard to start. Like, oh my God, I'm going to have to start all over with a new person and bring her back to my whole life story. And that takes forever. And it's going to be forever until I even make any progress in the way that I want to make, because I got to catch her up on all these things. And all of that self-talk and all of those stories prevented me from starting this for so long, much of this year. And now that I have started it, it is so easy to continue. And it wasn't that hard to start. Well, it was really hard to start, but it wasn't that hard to like, I'm searching for a word that means like literally start, like kick off and then be in the beginning of. It's not hard to be in the beginning of it, as hard as I thought it was going to be. Like I was telling myself all these stories about how hard it was going to be in the beginning of this process, and it's not. And again, that's not true of every process. There are plenty of things I've started that have stayed hard. This isn't one of them though. And I think it's really just worth reminding yourself that starting is often way harder than continuing. And also, it's okay if you start something and then stop something. Not that I have any intention of stopping this particular journey. anytime soon. I'm really liking it, and I think it's really helping me. But something else I think that has been a blocker to me starting things in the past is the thought of eventually stopping them. Like, well, I'm going to spend all of this time, not really, but in my mind, the story that I'm telling myself is I'm going to spend all of this time starting something, all of this mental effort, all of this effort in general, starting the thing, only to stop it. Again, I'm telling myself that story. I'm deciding already that I'm going to fail at something, that I'm not going to continue doing it, that it's going to stop, and that I'm going to have, quote, wasted all of this time starting it. When in reality, most of the stuff I decide to start, I don't want to stop. Sometimes I do stop it, but a lot of the stuff that I decide to start, I like, right? And also, if I do decide to stop it, that doesn't mean that the starting up was wasted time, because you learn something with everything you start. So that's what I'm continuing to remind myself at this current moment. And before we get to Ally, this week's media mention. Somewhat recently, at the end of 2025, there was a study out of the University of Montreal it was in the Journal of Marital and Family Therapy. Researchers tracked young adults over 2 years and their social media use and how social media fueled jealousy. And all sorts of different kinds of jealousy, like the kind, but especially the kind that was sparked by scrolling a partner's online activity. And this really came up for me when Ally and I were talking, this concept of jealousy with what a partner is doing. One of the types of jealousy that Ally talks about is comparative or competitive jealousy, which is external, meaning like, maybe your partner thinks somebody else is attractive and you are jealous of that because you're potentially comparing yourself or competing with this external person that your partner thinks is attractive. And I think that's a very similar thing that happens when we are scrolling our partner's online activity, or when we are in early dating, let's say, seeing them, interacting with other people, or maybe seeing them post a story and, we haven't talked to them in a little bit. Like, it's this jealousy that's getting stirred up. What this study focused in on was the way that then impacted these research participants. And it wasn't the scrolling itself, or rather the snooping itself, that was doing the damage. It was the jealousy that was coming up from that behavior. And I think that really ties into Ally's point about jealousy being information, because the damage that the jealousy is causing is, I think what Ally would say is, because we are not examining, well, what is this telling me, right? Like, all we are focused on is, I feel icky, I feel uncomfortable, I feel jealous by this thing that's happening. But if we can instead think of that as information, then that can help us navigate it a little bit. So it was interesting to me, and I will put the link to it in the show notes. And without further ado, let's get to Ally. And we are back with Ally. Hi, Ally. Welcome to Finding Mr. Height, the podcast.
Hello, Ally. Thank you for having me.
We are two Allys. We are two Allys here today. Yes,
you can never
exactly.
have enough Allys.
I totally agree. Well, I'm excited to chat with you today. I'm so curious. I did a little intro to the listeners about you and, who you are and whatnot beforehand, but I would love for you to introduce yourself to them. And specifically, I'm so curious for them to know, today we are going to be talking about jealousy as a broader topic. And I'm so curious what drew you to jealousy specifically, like out of everything that you could talk about.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And there's so much that I do talk about. So I am, first and foremost, I am a relationship coach, and I do a lot of speaking on stages and screens of all sizes about what it means to design a modern relationship. And what that means is building a relationship that is actually built to grow with you rather than who you once were or who you think you're supposed to be. And so that can cover a lot of topics, right?
Yeah.
So throughout that, which is work I've been doing now for well over a decade, and what I saw recur throughout, whether I'm working with monogamous folks, non-monogamous folks, single people, partnered people, there was this theme of throughout of jealousy, but in very specific ways of either avoiding jealousy. Oh, I don't get jealous. I'm not a jealous person. So that there's this level of identity, right? Jealous person. That's not a thing. Jealousy is just an
Right.
emotion.
But yeah.
Or jealousy as proof of love, right? If you're not jealous, then you don't really care. And so for me, I'm a data nerd. Like if I see an inconsistency or something out of whack, I want to drill down and see what's going on. So for me, that was an immediate, that doesn't make sense. How can it simultaneously be something we're supposed to avoid? And it means, there's something wrong with us, or there's something wrong with our relationship. So we got to avoid it. But also somehow it's a sign of love. And that means you really care. Like, this isn't making sense.
I
So
never thought about it like
yeah,
that those
yeah,
two things are kind of at odds. Or
yeah.
even when you said before the like, oh, I'm not a jealous person, but like jealousy is an emotion, you don't really hear that said about that many other emotions.
None. None as far as especially the avoidance. I think some
Yeah,
people say, oh, I'm a happy person. Like, generally I have a happy disposition, I think is
sure.
what they mean. They're not meaning they, exclusively feel that or something
They're
like that.
never sad.
But there's this identity with like jealous person. Like, if you're someone
Mm.
who experiences it, and that's like who you are, when it's just literally you are a person capable of experiencing many emotions, and one of them is jealousy to
Including
whatever
jealousy.
degree.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very common, very, very, have a strange relationship with this word, but normal. We'll call
Mhm.
it. It's a common experience.
Yeah.
And it is not inherently indicative of anything wrong. It just is. It's information, which is what we'll dive into now. But this is what I started to uncover. I'm like, okay, so if there's this strange paradox happening. Something, the math's not mathing. What's going on here? And through my own personal work, through my client work, and through nerding out hardcore in research
Mhm.
and academia, I started to uncover jealousy as data. It's just a data point. It's telling us something about our core values, something about what's important to us, and perhaps some needs that aren't being met. That's valuable information, like rich personal growth and relational growth information that we're completely avoiding. And so, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah. And why do you think it's so hard for people to reframe? At least I imagine that it is very difficult for people to kind of wrap their minds around that, given how like pointed conversations are about jealousy. Like, why do you think it is so hard to reframe it for people in that way?
I think let's look at it as a personal experience, right? What
Mhm.
happens when I or you or whomever is experiencing jealousy? So you'll find that I love a metaphor. So just ride with me.
I love it. I'm here. Let's go.
So I don't know if you surf or your listeners surf, but imagine as though you've never surfed in your life. You've never touched a surfboard. You've seen it, but you've never actually tried it. And now I'm going to give you a surfboard and I'm going to put you on a 10-foot wave and I'm going to say good luck. That's pretty intense, right?
Terrifying.
Right. So that's really intense. Now, if I did that to someone who's been surfing waves in Hawaii and, Bali and wherever else for 20 years, it's still intense. That's an intense experience, but they have muscle memory. They have skills. They have tools that they've learned in order to manage that intense experience. Jealousy is that wave. Jealousy is that intense experience. If you're not practicing it, you don't have a skill set, tools, anything to manage and actually mine it for the information that it has. So of course it feels like this massively overwhelming, literal wave of emotions. You have a physiological part of jealousy, you have a psychological part of jealousy. It's extremely overwhelming, especially if you have no skills and tools to actually manage it.
And especially if you have society telling you one of those two really extreme
Yep.
opinions that you mentioned in the beginning, either like jealousy is terrible, or if you're not jealous, you don't really
Yeah.
love them.
Well, and there's the added jealousy is terrible. And when there's that identity component, jealous person, right? If you're experiencing jealousy, something's
Yeah.
wrong with you. We're now
Yeah.
personalizing. Oh God, I have this thing. Now there's shame layered on top of it, right? Oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way. Something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with my relationship, whatever it is. So I'm just gonna, nope, I don't feel that. I don't have that. And I think we all know, hopefully, that the more you resist something, the more it persists. You don't get to, it doesn't go away. It just comes out in another version, usually in the most inconvenient way possible.
So true. It's so true. Do you think through your research and through working with people, although it's so true, like everyone experiences jealousy, it's a very natural emotion. there are different degrees
Oh,
to
yeah.
which like two different people could experience the same thing and have completely different levels of jealousy
100%.
coming out of that, right? Do
100%.
you think, where do you land on that being like a nature or nurture kind of conversation?
Mm.
Or I'm sure that there's not one clean answer there, but like what has your experience shown you there?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the 9,000 studies I want to run. I will be running actually a study at the same time as I'm working on my book, which is titled For the Love of Jealousy. Makes sense.
Love it.
Around a specific element. This is another study I want to run of that nature versus nurture. What is our predisposition versus what do we learn, et cetera. So I don't have a clean answer to that, but there are certainly differences, right? I
Mhm.
think people who, what I see is people who have come from very strict, rigid ideas around the value, the negative value of jealousy. There again is that shame is heaped on, and we get very when we're carrying shame about who we are. It's like the difference. Brene Brown talks about this. Shame is when it's about us versus guilt is about the thing. So you're
Mhm.
hitting that identity level, which is very, very intense for folks. So not a lot exists right now on the nurture side socially of like how do we lean into jealousy. So that's my hope with writing my book, is that we can start that conversation in a new way, open it up in a new way. But I definitely see in my work there are people who are naturally predisposed to more or less expression or feeling of jealousy. There are people who rarely experience it, myself, for example, and that can change, I want to be clear, too, over a lifetime, right? So I'll
Yeah.
share my own personal journey. So for me, when I was, growing up, first 30 whatever years of my life, I didn't understand the bad rap that jealousy had because it felt good to me. I didn't know the word compersion, which I'll explain in a second, but that's what I was experiencing in the moments where I was understanding that I should be feeling jealousy. So compersion is the joy or pleasure you experience from your partner experiencing joy or pleasure with someone else. So I
Oh,
loved hearing about my partner's previous relationships, that like good things for them felt good for me. So if they thought somebody else was attractive, that's me learning more about them. Cool. Like it wasn't a perceived threat necessarily. And I was feeling good. And so I was just like, I don't understand the bad rap. Jealousy feels great. This doesn't make sense to me, but okay. Like, it's fine. And then in my 30s, in one of my first long-term E&M or ethically non-monogamous relationships, I actually experienced my first felt body psychology, the whole jealousy experience actually happened
mm,
for me in a specific scenario for the first time ever. My entire system was flooded. I had no idea what was happening to me. It was so physical, like literally tunnel vision. My hearing went away, like my body, like just everything shut down. I had no
yeah.
skills. I had no preparation. I had no idea what was going on. So of course my body goes into complete shutdown and overwhelm, right? So then I started learning, oh, that's jealousy. Yeah,
Mhm.
that sucks. Like that did not feel good.
Right.
Versus compersion, and then understanding sort of that's the emotional, range that we have. Compersion feels good. Jealousy does not feel good. And then the other element is the potential arousal of both, right? We have non-arousing at all, just purely just the emotion. And then we have actually the erotic potential for both compersion and jealousy, which is also something I get into my book.
Yeah, I mean that there are definitely people that you like I think use jealousy as a fuel
Yeah.
for
Which can
desire.
which can be healthy or not healthy. There's
Totally.
definitely valuable and non-valuable ways of doing that.
Yeah. I'm curious too, even before we get there,
Mhm.
your point, going back to your point about how jealousy is information
Yeah.
and it's a signal,
Yes.
right? I think, like, what does it look like when somebody is sort of missing that signal and potentially instead ending up somewhere like where you were, let's say, in that freeze moment or in that overwhelm moment, rather than using it as that signal and sort of
Right.
like your body's like weaponizing jealousy against you?
Yeah. Well, so how I talk about this is the green-eyed gaze, right? So the green-eyed gaze actually has three different directions. Internally on myself, shame, how dare I feel
Mhm.
jealous? This means I'm a bad person, whatever else, right? Internal combustion.
Yeah.
And it has an outward gaze. You're making me feel this way. Why are you doing this? There's something wrong with what you're doing. I'm going to throw it on you so I don't have to feel uncomfortable. Now you feel uncomfortable so I don't have to. And then there's the third option. I'm just going to close my eyes. I don't see it. It's not there.
There's no
happening.
green gaze if my eyes are closed.
Exactly. Avoidance. Avoidance, which again doesn't make it go away. It just makes it come out some other way in the most inconvenient way possible. So that's what it looks like. That's what it can look like when we don't actually have it as a tool. When it comes up and we're just reactive, like, okay, I've got to put this somewhere. I'm either going to hurt myself, I'm going to hurt somebody else, or I'm going to deny. Right? Versus, wow, this is wildly uncomfortable. Where is it in my body? First, let me locate it. Like once we can get an understanding of a thing, it becomes less massive, right? First of all, it's this overwhelming experience. No, hang on. Where is it actually in my body? Is it up my spine? Do I feel this heat in the back of my neck? Am I feeling tight in my stomach? Like, where is it in my body? Now it's actually in my body. So it's not this like massive, overwhelming thing that's taking over, right? It's now actually contained in here. Okay, I know where it is. I know what it feels like. Like I'm naming it, it feels hot, it feels tight, whatever that is. I'm experiencing jealousy. This is very uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you like the goal is to make jealousy feel awesome. No, jealousy feels terrible. It is uncomfortable. Like that's okay. What if that was okay? That's my big question to everyone when it comes to jealousy. What if it was okay that you feel uncomfortable? That is the underlying tool for how to actually start using jealousy. Okay, it's just happening. This is just what's happening. Whatever stories are coming up, let's let those flow through, move along. This is what's happening. Okay, what kind of jealousy am I dealing with? I break down jealousy into 4 main romantic types. So insecurity, comparison or competition, fear of abandonment, and distrust. There's also retroactive jealousy, which is sort of like fixation and obsession with your partner's past. And then there's envy, which is actually different than jealousy. And we do use them interchangeably incorrectly.
Yeah.
But once we're in these stages of just like, this is part of a process that I call my jealousy growth method. It's a 6-step process for turning jealousy from turning you into a tool that you actually use for your own personal and relational growth. So identifying it, really understanding it, really owning it, and then looking at what kind is it? Okay, now that I know what kind it is, what is the message there? Am I feeling, if I'm noticing, I'm in comparison, I'm noticing, say I'm in a open relationship, or not even, right? This comes up in monogamy. I notice my partner looking at someone else, and I'm now suddenly comparing myself to that other person that I've decided they're more successful, they have a better outfit, they have whatever it is. I'm now in comparison with that person. What is that information that I can actually use for myself? Is that actually about how maybe I want to experiment with different clothes, or maybe I'm noticing that I have needs in my relationship that I'd like some more attention like that. So I'm going to ask my partner, hey, what gets your attention? What makes me like catch your eye? Like how do we want to play with this? Rather than blame or shame, which are those two, internal, external gazes, or avoidance. That's how we mine it. It doesn't make it comfortable or fun, but it does start creating ownership and agency and empowerment in an experience that is generally considered very disempowering.
Yeah, I was chuckling when you said though, like, what if we let it be uncomfortable? Because
what if we did?
Literally, I had this conversation with my therapist this week, not about jealousy, but about anxiety.
Yeah.
She posed it to me. She said, we were talking about my anxiety and where I feel it. And I have a question about that for you as well. But she said, she was like, well, what if you just were uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Which is uncomfortable.
Right? What do you mean there's nothing to fix? I don't have something to fix. I just have to feel.
What do you mean? What if I was uncomfortable? That sounds terrible. That sucks.
Yeah, we're not supposed to be. That's failure in our society. Uncomfortable?
Right.
Uncomfortable equals unsafe in our society when that's not actually accurate.
Totally. So I've been working through that on my end.
Nice.
But for me, with that parallel to anxiety, I feel anxiety in my chest. Yeah. Almost always, 99% of the time. But I know other people who feel it in their stomach, or like you said, like in their neck or in their head. Oh, you feel it in your stomach?
Stomach, hardcore. Yeah.
Interesting. For you and for people that you've worked with, do you find that for a particular person, jealousy presents itself in the body in a similar place when they feel it? Like for me, for anxiety, for me, it is quite literally always in my chest. I'm curious if that's your experience with jealousy as well. Something for me that has helped me is identifying that I often feel anxiety in my chest, because one of the things that I struggled with before I could name it was I didn't know what the feeling was.
Yeah. And
And
that's
it
much
helped
scarier.
me. Oh my God, terrifying. And so it helped me to realize that I often felt anxiety in my chest, because then when it started to happen, even when it was actually like low enough level happening that I could manage it easier, I could recognize it sooner
Yeah.
because I was realizing where I felt it. But so I'm curious if you have found that jealousy tends to present like for an individual in a similar place each time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I guess the short answer is yes-ish. So I think there's also an element of it depends where people are at in their journey of body awareness, right? Like,
Yeah.
have they ever even done any sort of like mindful meditation and connection with body? Like, can they even pick it up? Because something I do notice is as people are practicing this, they become more and more in tune with their body, again, depending on where they're at. So
Right.
maybe they have figured out like, up to a certain point, it lands here. And then as they've gotten to know their body better, they notice, oh, wait, that other sensation that actually might be connected because I'm noticing that.
Mm.
So that there's not like a fixed point, right? Of this is it. It's not a clean diagnosis in that
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
but it's an unfolding. Again, why I call it a tool to get to know yourself. Now you're learning about how your body processes very triggering information, right? And that can grow and change with you, right? So like I said, I had never even experienced jealousy until my 30s, so there was nothing for me to find.
Yeah. And I think the way that you experience, not you, but like the way that one experiences it can be so different in different relationships too. And not
That
just
part as well, very good point.
romantic,
Yeah, very,
but
very good point.
so much of this I think is relational.
Yeah.
And so I would love your perspective too on that, as like I consider myself someone who has been single most of my adult life. Like I've had, until the relationship that I'm in now, I had one other longish term relationship, but I've been mostly single with like shorter term relationships peppered in, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is my first experience where the relation is so like the relational aspect of it is so different
Mm.
because it's like a longer term partnership. And so I'm like sort of relearning myself in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty, right? We can grow only so much, and we can do quite a bit of growth on our own. But
Oh
we're a
yeah.
social species. We're built to be in community and relationship, and there's so many different kinds of relationships we can have with different kinds of people that bring out different things. Like it's a incredible constant unfolding. And yeah, I think that actually really, really drills down that point of yes, you can learn kind of where it comes in your body, but again, until you have different experiences with it, different people and different circumstances, et cetera, like the type of jealousy I experience with my current long-term partner, we're actually getting to explore erotic jealousy, which is something I have always wanted to dive into and was only possible for me in a deeply secure, connected context. So we actually have built that, and I've been able to start, enjoying that, and in a way that's very beneficial and secure and builds into our relationship. But all that to say, that's a very different experience than the first time I felt jealousy, or other times it's come up in other types of relationships. So I don't know if I'm answering your question. Sorry, I want to make sure we're coming.
No, totally. But I think where I was going with it is now I would love to hear like that first experience that you had where
Mm,
you felt flooded and overwhelmed. Like, let's put ourselves there, and the listeners like put
mm.
themselves there, and somebody's experiencing that. Like, what do you think that first move ideally looks like when that hits? And maybe you've heard, oh, I'm supposed to see jealousy as a signal. It's information, but like that's really friggin' hard in the moment.
Oh yeah, and if this is your first time, whether it's your first time dealing with jealousy or your first time experiencing jealousy after having heard, oh wait, I can use this in a way, it's gonna be so freaking easy to go, man, and now I'm fucking that up, like because I can't, because I'm not making it a tool, and
I
like
can't do
that's a
anything
shortcut to
right.
shame. Let's get out of that. That's not. This is not a button you push. This is not a pill you take. This is a practice, right? And it's always going to be a
Yes.
practice. You're not going to like finish somewhere. I'm not some like guru on a mountain who like has never like jealousy is easy. Like no, it's very
You reached the
uncomfortable.
promised land.
Yeah, that's not a thing. But now I'm not
No.
I'm not afraid of it in the way that I used to be,
Mm.
where like, that wave, right? That's really scary. What if I drown? What if I did it? I don't know what's happening. It's outside of me. It's bigger than me. No, it's actually something within you that you can learn about. So that first step to me is, if, let's say, again, you're somebody who's either experiencing jealousy for the first time, or you're experiencing it for the first time after hearing it can be valuable for you.
Yeah.
Get in your body. Fuck everything else. Like, whatever you need to do to just, get your, like, sit down, feel your feet on the floor, like, touch something, like, feel something stable, and then get in your body. Where is it? Get super, super curious. I just want you to find the sensations. It's not going to be, probably not going to be one place, right? You might
Yeah.
feel a tension in your brow. You might feel oh, my fists are clenched. I didn't even realize that. Like, find the sensations. That is all you have to do right now.
And I will caution, as somebody who has struggled with this, with the anxiety piece, that it's going to feel like the last thing you want to do.
Yes.
Is find the feeling. You're like, no.
No.
Wait a minute.
Avoid, move away.
Like, that feeling sucks. And when I remember the first therapist who told me to find my anxiety in my body, I'm actually like feeling it in my chest thinking about it as we speak. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh God, no. What do you mean? I can't go find that feeling. It'll get worse. But actually the opposite happened.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you phrased it that way, because I'll share something that is adorably embarrassing for me that I think relates here. So I learned well into my adult life that this may be new information for you, but it was new information for me in my 30s, I think, as well, that if you're crying, at some point, if you just let yourself cry, you will stop crying. You will finish. I genuinely didn't know that. And the, childhood I grew up, it was like, shh, no, you're fine.
Yeah.
So you had to stop yourself, or it would never. So I had that relationship with, like, intense grief or whatever it was, that I had to get it all. Otherwise it was just going to go forever. And so when I learned that and I started experiencing that, and I actually, like, it's really scary, right? Because I have, for, 30 years, I have thought, when this thing starts, it does not stop unless I stop it. So to actually allow it feels like drowning. Like, oh, I'm going to just suffocate and die because I'm going to be crying for the rest of it. So, like, learning that, then you're creating this muscle memory, you're creating this skill, you're creating this lived experience that recreates you. You are now a new person who has that memory. Your body has that memory. It's going to know that the next time it comes around, and you're going to get better and better at it. But you have to do that initial lean in. Is horrific.
Oh my God. It's terrifying.
But you have that capacity. Whoever is listening right now, we are built with that capacity. It is uncomfortable, and it's training your nervous system, and the difference between uncomfortable and unsafe, because physiologically your body doesn't actually know the difference between, I'm trapped in a cage with a hungry lion versus I'm about to speak on stage. It feels the exact same way. The story is the only difference. So you're training your body. Oh, there isn't actually a hungry lion in the cage with me. I am very, very uncomfortable right now, but I'm actually okay. And this includes, look, when we're talking relationally, there's power dynamics, people are in certain life circumstances, etc. There's very real things that do actually impact levels of safety. So there is a broader conversation here. Yeah. But generally speaking, you are increasing your capacity to hold discomfort, which, honestly, if you develop no other relational skill set in your life, this will impact every area of your life: work, finances, family, personal confidence, like all of it.
Absolutely. And I think, coupled with that, facing a worst case scenario.
Yes.
And sitting in that worst case scenario. Yes. And realizing, well, I'll be okay if that happens. And to your point, there are some worst case scenarios that are legitimately horrific and, like,
separate conversation.
Conversation. Generally speaking, though, like, let's use the talking on stage one as an example. Like, the worst case scenario, I get, booed off stage, and I never get invited back here to speak. And that would suck. But, like, it would be fine. Like, I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be, like, allowed to do other things. Like, I will be okay. But learning the skill to sit in that worst case scenario instead of avoiding it is so hard.
Well, think about, again, here's another metaphor. Here we go. Think about the gym. Whether you go to the gym or not, generally you know what a gym is. You don't get stronger not lifting the weights by
So true.
avoiding going to the, like, you have to, the weights are always heavy. They're always heavy, but they get bigger because you're getting stronger. But it's always uncomfortable. But you definitely don't get stronger or better at the thing by not doing it. So that's why I call it, it's like a jealousy practice.
Yeah. It's a really good metaphor because I'm thinking you can also think about the fact that after the gym you're sore. And like
Exactly.
actually if you're not sore,
That's growth.
and that's growth. And like if you're not sore, you like probably didn't push your muscles to be getting stronger, which like oftentimes is okay. You don't need to be sore every single time, obviously.
There's different types of training, and we could really ride this metaphor. We could really
get it. Yeah, we could really get into this metaphor. Yeah. But like that is true whether you are a professional bodybuilder, weightlifter, or whether you're someone who just started going to the gym yesterday. Like it is
100%.
Still true that you're pushing your muscles each time.
Yeah. They're never at any point called growing pleasures. Like that's not what they're called.
So true.
But the benefit is 100% pleasurable.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the kind of like, okay, I put my feet on the ground. I've touched a metaphorical grass. I'm getting into my body. I'm analyzing where it is. I've identified it. Let's say I'm like, okay, I feel it in my stomach and wow, my hands are clenched or, my neck is stiff. We're there. Now what?
So there's layers of identity, right? Like, or just to say identifying the thing. Because you're practicing learning how to spend time in that first part, it's not just where is it in my body? Okay, now what are the qualities it has? Is it tight? Is it hot? Is it like gurgly? Is it, what does it actually feel like? Now you know where it is. Now you know what it feels like. Now you're naming it, right? It's this hot, tight sensation in my stomach known as jealousy. Like you're claiming it. This is actually doing a neurological process in your brain that is completely changing how you're intaking this information. You are now identifying it. When you name something, I wish I could remember the term for this, but it changes your neurological relationship with the thing. That's why we love naming things.
Yeah, I love it.
I identify that. Now I know what that is. Now it's not this, potential threat all the time to my limbic system.
Well, it's also not me. It's this thing.
Also,
like I am not, like, back to what you said about
jealous person.
The jealous person. Yeah. It's like if I name the thing, it's jealousy. That's a noun that is separate from who I am as a human.
I am a person experiencing jealousy. Right. Currently, it lives in my stomach. It's very bubbly. It's very tight. I'm developing a relationship with it now, right? So I'm actively in the relationship development process rather than avoiding it, throwing it on somebody else, or using it to beat myself with. I'm saying, hey, this is uncomfortable. Who are you? Let's get to know each other, right? So now we're getting the qualities of it. It's a very felt, lived experience. That's doing a lot of work because it's taking you out of your head, which is where the story lives. Something's wrong. I'm a bad person. My relationship's falling, whatever else, they're going to leave me, whatever the story is. Yeah. Boom, it's in my body now. So I'm allowing that to now just move through me. Now I can start looking at, okay, what is it in relation to? What type of jealousy, like I talked about earlier, what type is this actually an insecurity, which is really a comparison with ourselves, right? So am I, I'll use my own life as an example. So I've had an extended period of health challenges. So I haven't been able to go to the gym with the regularity that I'm used to. I'm not in the shape I'm used to being in. I'm not as strong as I used to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm feeling a bit of insecurity around that in comparison to my earlier self, right? Comparison or competition to me is different than insecurity because that's a comparison or competition with someone outside of myself. Yeah. Insecurity is within myself. Or no, I'm not feeling confident about my skill set here, there, wherever it is. I'm noticing that myself. That's information. I can tell my partner that I need more verbal affirmations right now while I'm building back my strength, or more support in this way, or whatever it is, rather than taking that discomfort that is very unpleasant and making it somebody else's problem. Oh, you don't XYZ enough, and that's why I feel this way. No, actually, I need this. Are you available to give that to me? Is that something you're able to show up for? Because I'm noticing this in myself. It's not making the jealousy somebody else's problem or responsibility. It's making it yours. This is my experience. But you're also now empowering yourself and asking for what you want. I'm compressing a 6-step process.
Of course.
I just want to be really,
Yeah.
really clear about that.
Yeah.
There's stages to this, right? You're basically learning a new language. You're completely changing a neural pathway in your brain. So that's where we want to get to, right? That's the data, right? If I'm in insecurity, I'm noticing this. If I'm in jealousy, or if I'm in comparison or competition, it's telling me this information. If I'm in, fear of abandonment, that's generally tied to like a childhood wound, something like that. Like that. Distrust is slightly different. So distrust is more of like a insecurity, but within the relationship. So insecurity is personal, me, something going on in there. Distrust is something going on in the relationship that I'm getting some data points, whether it's, okay, I've had a number of relationships, or maybe I was cheated on in my previous relationship. And so now I'm looking for proof in this one based on that. For that, is proof actually happening? Or is this something that I need to kind of look at, maybe talk to a therapist, whatever that is? Or maybe there's actual behaviors going on. Maybe this current partner has cheated on you in the past and you're seeing some patterns that you don't like. Now we need to have a conversation, right? So like, again, none of this is attack of self, attack of other. It's data. Hey, I'm noticing this. Can we X? Are you available for Y? Like, let's look at, do we need outside support? None of this is wrong. None of this is failure. None of this is personal character assassination. None of data. All you have is data. And once you've worked through that process of like, right, this isn't my identity. This isn't, a failure point. This is just information. Now you have a relationship with that thing. Now you're using it for the potential benefit that it has, both, again, for your personal growth and your relational growth.
I love the script I'm noticing.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to keep it, first of all, from a first person point of view, because I'm sure most people listening, I have heard the advice of when you're trying to approach your partner about something or talk about something in your relationship, using I statements is often
very, very
a good entryway.
Yeah.
And so I love that, but also for the way that the word noticing, the verb noticing, makes it something that's external to you still.
Yeah. And it's something we can look at together.
Yeah.
It's not you're doing. I'm noticing this pattern that's come up. Can we look at it together? Because we're in relationship together. That means we're building this thing that is both a part of each of us and also outside of each of us. Because fun fact, if you're in a couple, you're already in a threesome. There's you, there's your partner, and there's the relationship. Those are 3 different parties. And so, hey, I'm noticing this occurring in our relationship. Can we look at that together?
I love that.
Regardless of whose behavior, can we look at it?
What's your advice for trying to, before you bring something to your partner, in that part you were mentioning of looking within yourself and noticing within yourself, whether it's something that is actual behavior that's happening now and maybe a pattern that you're noticing now, or something that is just triggered you from the past, perhaps, of like, oh, this used to happen. And so now I'm looking for it. I think that's really hard to delineate. What's your advice for somebody who's had a pattern pop up for them in the past and is now like, oh my gosh, am I just seeing what I used to see? Or is this something that's happening?
Something that I use with clients is it's like a reframe exercise. So right now, if we're in the I don't know, because if I'm just working with them, I'm not working with them as a couple, just an individual, right? I can't guess about what their partner's up to or doing or whatever. They're not in the room, right? So what we're going to look at is, what are all the trustworthy behaviors they are showing? Okay, if there's this pattern that seems very familiar to something from the past that's really tweaking, let's look at what else is also going on, right? Because I'm sure that's not the only thing that they're doing. What are the things that they do that make you feel secure in the relationship, that show up as trustworthy, as consistent, as committed? Like, what are all those other things? Let's look and see what's there. Because if there's not much there, now we have a different conversation.
Yeah.
But if there's a lot there, right, there's an element of, and that doesn't mean, this is a bigger conversation, but that is a step that we can do. Is like, let's look at actually the whole picture, because it can be very, very easy to feel like that one behavior or those 2 behaviors that seem very familiar can start becoming the whole picture, because our brain works with a negativity bias. It's a, what do you call it? A cognitive distortion, right? We have a negativity bias. We need 7 points of positive information to counteract 1 point of negative information. So if you know your
Yeah.
brain is already that powerful at looking at what could be wrong, you have to actively train your brain to look for what else is going on, what else is true. And it takes effort. It's training. You're at the gym.
Yeah. I mean, we see that in so many other parts of life too. I mean, we think about feedback, like if
Mm-hmm.
you're at work and you've had your boss say, oh, that was a great report that you turned in, or, oh, that presentation was
Yeah.
great. Good job on this. But then you get one piece of even just constructive criticism and your brain is like zeroing in on that and completely forgetting the like 50 positive things that they've said
Yep.
to you, and instead only focusing on the one bad one.
Yep. Yeah. So that's like, it's a leadership tool and also really just a communication tool, regardless of romantic or professional relationship, called the shit sandwich. If
Yep.
you have something hard to talk about, we're gonna package it in a nice, sweet little container where we start with something wonderful and yummy and juicy, deliver the not so great stuff, and finish it out with something else that's
Finish
positive
it out
about
with
the
something
thing.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to let that negative thing yell
Yeah.
at a decibel that completely
Yeah.
drowns out all positive things.
Oh yeah. And I just want to keep reaffirming that this is a practice.
Mhm.
I teach this, I talk about this, I work on it with clients. I'm still in practice in my own life, and I will be for the rest of my life, because that is life.
Hmm.
Life is a practice, right? And I've got, bigger muscles around certain things than I used to. But I'll tell you, when I have a period of time, like, the challenges I've had recently, I'm out of practice on a few different things, and it'll catch me off guard sometimes. And those are not opportunities to beat myself up because I'm not some version of perfect whatever I think it's supposed to be there. It's just like, oh, great. Another opportunity to work on this. Thank you.
Woohoo! Thanks for the
So much.
opportunity.
Great. And you
I'm
know
gonna,
what? And also I want to say, and sometimes I can't.
no,
Sometimes we
yeah.
can't. And that the job there, or the practice there is, if you're in relationship, it's a relationship conversation. Honey, I want to talk about this. I am committed to talking about this with you, and I can't right now because I can't
Mm.
show up the way I want to for this conversation. Can we talk about it tomorrow, this weekend? Like, give a definitive point, but like, I actively want to do this. This is something I'm committed to doing with you, but I can't do it in the way that I want to, in the way that we deserve. So let's do it at this specific time in the future. That is also
I
okay.
absolutely love that. And I like, again, I love a script. I love a script. What is your advice for the person receiving that script? Because I love the phrasing and I think it's amazing and so valid. And also, I'm sure that is really hard to hear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's structured specifically. So for someone who has, is it generally has more of like an anxious attachment style,
Yeah.
that definitive, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, whatever, that really alleviates a lot there. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's not going to be uncomfortable to sit with, or by any means. And you're going to ideally have some sort of practice that you do that makes you feel good when you're dealing with not so great feelings, right? Like,
Mhm.
part of your work, whether you're receiving something that doesn't feel good, or you're feeling something that doesn't feel good that you can't manage right now, there's got to be some sort of practice that you can do that's yummy, whether it's, making some popcorn and watching a movie, laying out by the pool, like whatever that thing is for you, ideally with movement, because movement really helps us get out of head. Again, we're into our bodies, out
Yeah.
of our head, which is the ruminating story up there. Something ideally physical, to whatever extent, that can get you to just feed yourself, make yourself feel as good as you can in that moment, to enable you to stretch that capacity to hold that discomfort. But that's why it's shaped that way. First, we have the commitment. I actively want to talk to you about this. I'm not just delaying it and delaying it until it goes away. I want to do
Right.
this. I'm claiming that, right? So for somebody who's avoidant, that's an invitation of like, are you in this with me? I
Mhm.
want to talk about this. Great. I can't right now. And here's why. Because I'm so committed to talking about this, I want to do it well. I want to show up as the best version of myself. I want to meet you respectfully as a partner. And I'm not feeling capable of that right now because I'm in whatever's happening. But I
Mhm.
want to do this with you, and I can't do it the way that we both deserve. So this is when I would be available to do that. How about you? And then you're actually inviting your partner into creating this opportunity with you. And I'm talking
Yeah.
about this, right, very calmly, and it's very easy, right? And very low key. And like, know that in
If
these
only.
moments, like whatever is happening for you inside is happening. And it's not going to sound exactly the way I sound it, but the way I'm
Right.
saying it. But it's keeping it about what am I committed to? I'm committed. I want to do this. This is what I want. I want to have this conversation. I am not my best self right now. And that is not who I want to bring to this. I'm available at this time for it. How about you? Now we're aligned. We're creating something together. We're creating the opportunity for this conversation together versus it's all about one partner or the other. Like, I can't do it right now. Deal with it. No, I'm inviting you into the opportunity of how can we do this well together?
Yeah, I'm glad you acknowledge that it won't sound that way
God, no.
necessarily, because if
God,
you are
no.
not in a place to have that conversation right now,
Mm-mm.
clearly there's something going on. And you're
Yes.
probably also not in a place where you can just like breezily and calmly communicate
Yeah.
that.
So like my partner and I have a timeout, right? It sounds silly. Like we're kids,
I
right?
love
It's
it.
timeout.
No, I
Because
love it.
that version of that will come through gritted teeth because I am just not feeling awesome right now. And so instead of, try something happening to come out passive aggressive, whatever, I was like, you know what? Timeout. We know that's our shorthand for 10 minutes. We're gonna
Yep.
go and move our bodies somewhere else. We'll reconvene in 10 minutes. That might not be when we have the conversation, but it might be when we have the, I want to talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not right now, but time out, 10 minutes, doop, shorthand. Doesn't take a conversation to have that. We don't even need to say, just boop, boop, done.
Yeah. And you have that safety in your relationship that you can develop that and be able to know that that means that actually time out means that I'm in this with you because I
Yes,
want that time out so that we
yes.
don't escalate.
100%. And that's the conversation that happened to create that as a shorthand, right?
Yeah.
That
When
didn't
it's
come
not
out of
happening.
nowhere. Yeah. Because if I know my triggers, right? I know my attachment patterns and all that. So I've developed how to ask for what I need. So that's kind of where
Mm,
that structure comes from. But I know that I need to know when it's going to happen if it's not going to happen right now. Because if you just
yeah.
go like, I can't talk about this right now, I'm in free fall, right? I'm like, well, is it ever going to happen? Or when are we going to are you in this? Have you just no, I'm in it. Like it's structured this way for a reason. And you
Right.
build that. That shorthand is really valuable because to your point, yeah, you're activated. That structure may not be easily accessible to you in that moment. So ideally you're having some sort of conversations before you guys are triggered about what's a really quick way that we both know this signal means all these things that we don't have to remember a whole freaking script.
Yeah. And I mean, timeout's a great one with the people
Yeah,
who are
just
listening to the audio,
yeah,
the hand gesture of timeout. You're listening, you know the
and
hand gesture we're making. And
exactly.
that is actually brilliant because it means
Yeah.
that it's something that's already so inherently socialized in us that you don't
Mhm.
really have to think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Great.
Allie,
Allie
this
approved
is,
for
yeah,
Allie.
yeah, Allie squared. We did it. This has been amazing. I love how practical all of your tips are. Like, I think something that I really like to bring to my listeners is, the esoteric conversation about what all this stuff means, but then also like, all right, now what do I do about it?
Yeah, you're a physical body living in a day-to-day world, being impacted all the time by lots. You need things that you can actually use right now.
Literally, literally,
Yeah,
yes. So thank you for bringing that to the listeners. And if
my
they would
pleasure.
like more from you, which I know they will, where can they find you and your work?
I am on just about all the things, I think, as far as platforms are concerned. My website is Passport to Pleasure, and that's the number two, passport2pleasure.com. And that is also my handle across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I know I'm missing one, Meta, like all the things.
All the
And then you can
things.
also find my main page on Instagram is just my name, Ally Iseman. But everything is at my website, or you can find me again through Instagram at Ally Iseman, and I would love to hear from you.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for being here.
My pleasure. And just on that note, for practical tools, I want
Yeah.
to make sure I'm giving people, yeah, you can visit the website and that's great. But maybe you really heard something of yourself in our conversation
Mm.
around jealousy, or maybe our conversation about like, oh yeah, I am looking to build a relationship that can actually grow with me. What does that even mean? How do I know where I'm going to be growing, So I created two pretty comprehensive yet very compact quizzes to help people get that conversation started, both with themselves and then with their partner or partners. So I have it was called your What's Your Relationship Style quiz. So it's
Mm.
myrelationshipstyle.com. 10 questions, helps you understand which of the 4 relational archetypes you fall under, which relationship structures support that style, and then, what are the roadblocks you might come up against, how to have this conversation with somebody if you are partnered. Lots of information. You'll get that in what's called your personalized pleasure-led relationship profile. So myrelationshipstyle.com is the relationship style quiz. And then we have the jealousyquiz.com, which is very similar, but specifically around jealousy. Those 4 types we talked about, plus retroactive and envy. It helps you understand if you're in jealousy or you're noticing it coming up a lot in your relationship or within yourself, whatever is going on. This will help you determine which of the ones you're experiencing, maybe most commonly. And fun fact, you're probably not just experiencing one.
Yeah.
Most people have a relationship with all of them at some point in their life, but it gives you a framework of like, okay, now I understand where I'm at. What kind of information does the style of jealousy usually give? And then I have a ton of resources on my website that help you take that further. But those 2 quizzes are totally free, myrelationshipstyle.com and the jealousyquiz.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. This was wonderful. And to all the listeners, we'll talk next week.
Thank you so much.
Bye.